Okay, so the training session is being recorded. This is week one, day one of our training sessions, and this is a TEFL course, hosted and developed by the Arab Open University. So last time it was all about, I was introducing you to the course. Its different components and its different elements, and then we started talking about some of the ideas and issues that the world of TEFL and ELT is grappling with. So how much do you still remember from last time? I remember sending you a number of things. I sent you the slides that we used last time. I sent you a video. This was even before the session last time. I sent you a video on what TEFL is and its history and all those kinds of things. What else did I send you? A recording of the slides. So have you gone through any of that? Raise your
Yes.
hands.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. So another question, how do you find the experience so far? Um, did it add to your knowledge about what teaching is? Obviously, we haven't gone deep, but at least we said something about what happens in ELT and in TEFL, the different things that people engage in. I mean, I'm talking about the teachers. So how far do you find the experience so far? Interesting, boring? You're not going to work as a teacher because of what happened last time. So let's talk about it. Let's have like 5 minutes to reflect on what we have done. So drop your hands, and if you're ready to talk about the experience, raise your hands again. Okay, so let's have Al Gawhara.
Hello, doctor. How are you?
Yeah. Hi, how are you?
Good, alhamdulillah. I think it's a good experience knowing the history. When I watched the video, they connected it to colonial history,
Mm-hmm.
which is something I didn't really think about. We also address like more than one thing when it comes to teaching English as a foreign language or a second language or additional or lingua franca, which was good for me. It's like a revision. And when it comes to teaching, I'm not really sure yet if I want to teach or no,
Mm-hmm.
but I think most of us or all of us either way will end up like having such experience. So
Nice,
this is why I took this course.
nice. So you either a teacher or a parent of a child who receives
Yes,
teaching,
right.
right?
Yes,
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 yes.
yes. Thank you, doctor.
Okay,
That's
you're
it.
welcome. Thank you, Al Gawhara. Let's go all the way to we have Bara. Go ahead, you Bara.
Yes, hello, doctor. How are you?
Yeah, hi, how are you?
Great, alhamdulillah. So far, alhamdulillah, I found the experience very interesting, especially the video. I really liked it because it was like talking about the history and the basis of TFL and how external factors affected, like we want to talk about politics, economics, and how the labor market should be affected also, because we are looking for the future, and of course we are looking for better jobs. So that's why I really love that video. It's
Nice.
amazing.
Thank you. Thank you, Bara. Razan, go ahead.
Is my voice clear?
Yeah, it is. Yes, go ahead.
About the video, I really liked how organized it is because it shows that learning languages, and especially English, can affect various aspects in our life.
Nice.
And when it comes to teaching, I really take this point seriously because it takes me, because in my opinion, it's like a really realistic step in my dream.
Nice.
Because
Interesting.
I want to open a language school. That's why I'm taking it very seriously.
Nice. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Mia or Mia?
Yeah. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
For the videos, I really like them. And about teaching, I'm really interested about the course more than before. Just because I think that these courses is important, and what I study, for example, the techniques are really important for if I need to teach the another languages, not just English, because I'm learning right now Syriac and Spanish, so I think that I can use these techniques to teach other languages, not just English. And it's useful to teach another languages.
Nice. Nice.
Because of the techniques.
Okay. Thank you, Mia. Thank you so much. Okay. Interesting. So what is it that we're doing tonight? We're going to finish off the portion of that we started last time and then move on to something perhaps more interesting and more relatable, as you're going to see. So how did we start last time? Let me make sure that you can see me and also see the slides, or I can see at least myself and I also see the slides. Okay, so last time it was about the world of ELT, and perhaps we're using ELT and TEFL, at least for our present purposes, interchangeably. So when I talk about the world of ELT, I'll be talking also about the world of teaching English as a foreign and as a second language. So last time it was about the different aspects of ELT. We spoke about language, spoke about skills, systems. We spoke about the frameworks, the methods, and today or tonight we're going to talk about the issues. And by issues, I mean the challenges that ELT is now facing, and I mean ELT professionals and administrators. So we'll talk about that today. We're going to also talk about assessment, which is very important, a very important aspect of teaching English as a foreign language, teaching languages in general. There has to be some kind of assessment in order to check whether you as an educator is doing a good job and whether your student is learning from you or not. Remember what we spoke about language? We said that what language is, obviously. We spoke about why people learn languages, and we also spoke about acquisition, how we acquire language, how we learn the language, and we also spoke about the idea or the process of teaching and the process of learning. Teaching would be the teacher, and learning would be the one who is on the receiving end, who is obviously the student or the learner. What else did we talk about? We talked about acquisition. We spoke about first language acquisition and second language acquisition. And this is, by the way, is going to be a huge debate, as we're going to see today. Actually, one of the issues that ELT people and professionals are debating all the time, whether we learn our second language, English, second language, regardless of what language it is, whether we learn it as we learn our native language, or are the processes different or what. We'll see to that in a minute. After that, we spoke about, of course, first and second language. Second, I mean, this is a little bit distracting, but let me take it here. Okay. So teaching and learning, and we spoke about the different types of English teaching, teaching English as a foreign language, teaching English as a second language, teaching English as an additional language, and teaching English as a lingua franca or as a global language. And we spoke about the differences between each and every one of them. And then we spoke about the skills. Normally, as a language teacher, you are engaged in teaching two things. You're teaching, or two categories, by the way. So you either um, are teaching skills, or you are teaching language or language systems. And we made this distinction between the two. We said that when we talk about skills, language skills, which we speak about listening, reading, speaking, and writing. And we made this distinction between what is receptive and what is active or productive. And we said, of course, that listening and reading are receptive skills, while speaking and writing are productive skills. Spoke about the productive skills and the receptive skills. And then we moved on to the systems or the language systems. And sometimes we simply call them language. When I say that I am teaching language this week, it means that I am teaching grammar, and I'm teaching vocabulary, pronunciation, discourse. These are called systems or language systems or assembly language. So, so systems would mean lexis, which means vocabulary, grammar, phonology, and discourse. And then we spoke about the methods. Remember what methods are? We said that methods are the philosophies. You reflect on teaching and how teaching should be done, and then you come up with a theory. So a method is a theory of teaching that you think of. We spoke about the different methods. Remember when we spoke about the grammar translation method, the audio visual method, the silent way. These are the different methods, if you still remember. Okay, so grammar, sorry. Is not going, yes. So direct method, audiolingual method, silent way, suggestopedia, remember, community language learning, total physical response, the communicative approach, demand high, dogma ELT, content and language integrated learning, and principled eclecticism. These are, like I said, these are methods. These are theories that people think about. So how teaching is thought of, and then out of those methods, you would have approaches, and you would also have frameworks. Spoke about the frameworks, if you still remember them. So these are the frameworks, and the most common of them would be present, practice, produce, if you still remember. And then the other approaches, remember when we said that test, teach, test, and guided discovery are very similar. We said that engage, study, and activate would be also very similar to present, practice, produce. We said that under deductive teaching, you would have present, practice, produce, and engage, study, activate, while under inductive learning, you would have guided discovery and test, teach, test. So these are different frameworks that people use. So with methods, you have a philosophy. You think that teaching should be done in a communicative way. So you think of an approach, or you think of a framework that can help you achieve this kind of communication. And assessment, and this is perhaps the official start of today's or tonight's session, because we didn't talk much. What's happening? Why this opens all the time? Any idea how we can close this? Yeah. Okay, so assessment. What do I mean by assessment? Let me ask you. What is to us generically? Generically means the meaning of the word in the dictionary.
Like a homework?
Excuse me?
Like a homework?
No, it's not. So I'm talking about the generic meaning. If you check in the dictionary now, the first entry would be assessment means that you're evaluating something or someone. Okay, evaluating means that you are checking with, you have a checklist of things, and then you try to see whether the one that you're assessing is meeting the criteria or not. So this is assessment and evaluation. So assessment and evaluation goes in a different ways. One basic way would be the quizzes and the exams that you make or develop for your students. So you have gone through different types of assessment when you were students, for example, right? You had quizzes, you have TMAs, you have midterms and final exams. These are all called assessments. And sometimes we do them. Let me open this. So these are the different types of assessment that we have. We have assessment for learning, and we have assessment of learning. And notice the difference between for and of. And you have what we call formative assessment and summative assessment. So as you can see, the word assessment is common among all of them. So it's about judging and evaluating something, okay, setting a value on something and see whether it meets the value that you're setting or not. Okay, so what's the difference, if any, between assessment for learning and assessment of learning?
Can I
So
answer?
like, yes, go ahead.
Can I
But
answer?
if you, what's your name?
May I?
If you don't know, let me, يعني, I don't know whether you're going, you have prior knowledge about it, or you're going to come up with what? Go ahead.
mean assessing for learning is something teach them something, but assessing of learning means like testing them for grade for marks or something like that.
Now, the two of them are assessing students, obviously, but it's about when you do the assessment. So assessment for learning, of course, you know what the word for means. For means that you're doing something for a purpose. So assessment for learning, it means that you are assessing them, you're setting quizzes and exams in order to teach the students more. How? Um, it's what we call, and you're going to see that it in the third column, we call it formative assessment. So assessment for learning is formative assessment, and it is about making sure that that learning is taking place, that students are learning, that you're not just there in class and people are not benefiting from you. So assessment for learning is something that you do periodically from time to time during the class, during a number of classes. If you have quizzes every month, for example, like we used to have. So this is called assessment for learning, and it's assessment for a purpose. And the purpose, obviously, is to check whether your students understand, okay, and you go on because they understand, or they don't understand, and then you stop and you change your strategies, you change the way you're doing things. Okay, so this is called assessment for learning. Assessment of learning means you assess the whole process at the end. Okay, when you have, for example, a final exam, Okay, so obviously, after the final exam is done, you're not going to go back and change your strategies. So this is only happening if you're assessing for learning and not of learning. So you see the difference. So assessment for learning is periodic, every week or every month, for example, while assessment of learning is something that you do at the end of the course. Okay, assessment for learning is called formative assessment, while assessment of learning, and because it comes at the end, is called summative assessment. So if I ask you to match, okay, so obviously one, so let's match them. So you have one, you have two, you have three and four, right? Can you see them? Mm. So one goes
Yes,
with,
doctor.
yeah. So one goes with what?
Was three.
Uh,
With three, while,
two goes with four.
yeah,
Two was
okay.
four. Yeah.
Yes, very good. So let's give them names. Tell me what one is, and map it or link it to number three, like you're saying. Yeah, somebody else.
Can I answer,
Yeah,
doctor?
yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Assessment for learning comes with formative
For
assessment,
hmm while
uh, while assessment of learning comes with summative assessment.
summative assessment. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Let's move on. We'll talk more, and obviously there is more to it than just the names and the titles. And then we move to a very important issue, which is the ideas and the challenges that teaching professionals are having as we speak. So what do you think? You being either teachers, new teachers I know, or aspiring teachers, people wanting to become teachers, and you were students. What do you think? What are some of the problems and the challenges that uh, you may think of when you were a student? What do you think was wrong? What do you think the challenges were? I'll give you a minute. Let me give you a minute for that. I would like you to brainstorm, to think. Okay, come up with at least two challenges that you have seen yourself as a student. Think. I'll give you 2 minutes, and I would like you to come up with two issues or two challenges. Yeah, let's do it. Drop your hand if you have forgotten it raised from last time. Okay, so we are talking about ELT challenges, challenges that people meet or are meeting as we speak in the world of ELT or English language teaching. How could you know? Because you were a student yourself, or perhaps you're a teacher and we don't know. Well, who wants to start? For some reason, I cannot see names. I don't know why. Yeah, and now I can see names. So challenges. Okay, let's have Toka. Are you raising your hand, ya Toka?
Yes, doctor.
Okay, so what are some of the challenges? So are you talking from the perspective of a teacher or a student?
As a student,
As a student, yeah, go ahead.
yes. Some teacher was explaining the information too short.
Hmm.
They didn't explain as the student want to understand.
Okay, so
And
you're talking about so you either have people who over explain or under explain. In your case, Yatoka, they were under explaining, which means that they were not giving you as much as you want.
yes,
Okay, that's interesting. This is a challenge. What else?
yes,
I mean, the challenge would be that the teacher does not know whether to give too much or too little, right?
yes.
To whether
And
to teach too much or too little. So that would go under teacher talk time. So the teacher talk time in your case was not that big, right?
right.
Okay, nice. Any other challenge?
Um, some teacher cannot give the explain of the idea in the right way.
Okay, so again, you have teachers who are not very knowledgeable about what they are teaching, which
Yes,
means that perhaps they don't prepare. Uh,
yes,
Perhaps as English language teachers, their English is not that good. They have a
yes,
problem, right? Okay,
absolutely, yes.
okay. So we'll talk about that. Thank you. Thank you so much. Budur?
Thank
Yes, doctor.
Budur, because you're raising your hand.
Yes.
Yeah. What are some of the challenges that you think ELT professionals have?
I would say maybe use uh, um like a singular method or like a method that uh, wouldn't benefit the whole class. Like
Mm.
maybe most of the class would actually understand the
Yeah.
method that the teacher is using, but others can't grasp the information.
So you
Um,
mean that the teacher is monotonic. Monotonic, it means that he or she sticks to one single approach and he or she
yes,
doesn't
exactly,
change it,
exactly,
regardless
and
of whether students understand or not.
yeah, of course, because some
No,
students might
yeah.
have
Mm.
difficulties
Uh,
and need like a different method for them to understand
yes,
the idea or
which
the
means
subject.
that people, you're talking from the standpoint of a student, right?
Yes, I would say
Uh,
both actually.
yeah, because now you're a teacher, right?
Yes,
Okay. Are you familiar with learning styles, learning or learner style? That
um,
learners have different styles of learning.
I
With
would say somewhat yes, because
some people are visual, for example, they
yes,
like it.
exactly, and
Yeah.
some are uh, would like to use them their hands or like can discover the
Mm.
information on their own so they can uh,
Yes.
exactly yeah. And explaining to them won't um,
Want help.
give them the whole exactly and won't help them see the whole picture. So they want to like actually
Yes.
seek the information for themselves.
So, what are you implying that teachers should, before they start, they should check what kind of learner styles they have in class?
I would suppose,
Say
of course,
yes.
they can't. Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Right?
of course, but like,
Uh,
yeah, they have to actually check with the students. I would
yes.
suppose, yeah,
Yeah, and this
so
is
they
what
wouldn't know.
I'll tell you about it later because we have a name for it. We call it learners
Mm,
profiles. You make a profile for every and each learner. You ask them
okay.
questions. I mean, you dedicate the first class, for example, for
Mm,
that. You get to know them. You give them things so that you can know what kind of style they have, and then you build on those different styles. You think of something that can help them all, not only one or two students.
Exactly.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move to Zahra. Zahra, because you're raising your hand. So Zahra changed her mind. That's fine. Let's go to Razan.
Yes,
Yeah. So what are some
I
of the
noticed.
challenges and yes, the issues that we have?
I
And yeah, go ahead.
I noticed that when I was a student in
Hmm.
high school or middle school, some teachers doesn't know how to balance between being that positively strict
Hmm.
and ignoring the abilities or the issues of the students themselves.
So it's they cannot maintain this balance between being serious and strict, like you're saying,
Yes,
and yes. Okay,
it's good to
that's.
be serious. It's
Hmm.
good to be serious, but some teachers want to show that they are serious, but
Hmm.
they, with overreacting, they ignore
Mm.
the students' problems
Needs.
or
They ignore the
difficulties.
student. Yes. So they overdo it. They overdo
Yes,
this idea that they are very high and mighty and strong. They focus on that and they ignore the needs, the real needs of the students, right?
yes, and some of them are totally the opposite.
Mm.
They become very friendly and very soft, and so some students doesn't take them seriously.
Yes, that's a problem. Yes. Thank
So
you. Yeah, go ahead.
the
Go on.
the main point is to be balanced between both.
Yeah, to have
It's not good.
to maintain.
It's
Yes.
not good to be very tough,
Hmm.
and it's not good to be very easygoing.
Okay, that's a point. Yes. Fatma, Bilal.
Yeah, so
Mm.
there are two. For students, I feel that they are given way too much homework, especially at
Mhm.
the level. And
Overwhelming the students. Mm. Yes.
yes, they are.
Mm.
They are completely overwhelmed and they're burnt out. And
Mhm.
then from a teacher's perspective, I found that some cared more about the mark that they took in the test more than if they actually understood the topic. So for them, that mark was very important. And if they didn't get a high mark, then they feel like they failed instead of actually them. This is ESL classes.
Mhm. So it's so which area of ESL or ELT would we include that? Perhaps your relationship with your students, you're not making it clear enough that they are not there to collect marks. So
No, it's been
this is
clear to them,
yeah.
but I think it's been from ingrained from them from a young age that they have to have a high mark always.
Yeah, but you need to change the mindset. This is part of your responsibility as a teacher, right? Especially as a language teacher. So obviously, it's not about the
Absolutely.
mark, right?
That
You're
mindset
trying to
has,
make it a point that they
yeah,
are there to acquire the language, and if they
yeah.
see it happening, if they see it happen or happening, the fact that they are acquiring the language, they are going to forget all about the mark, right?
Yes,
Yes,
that's the challenge at the beginning to get them to understand that.
yes. Basma, because you're raising your hand, Basma Adnan.
Yes, doctor. Good
Yeah,
evening.
yeah. Good
Yes,
evening. Hi.
I will say my point of view as a tutor first. As a tutor, my challenge is how to engage my students
Students.
into
Yeah.
my students, yeah, into class. I know this is my responsibility, but nowadays I face this challenge because nowadays students prefer uh, to see the idea more quickly because nowadays they used to see this reels and this short videos
Mm.
So they just want to see the idea very quickly. So this is a challenge for me. And yes, I'm trying, actually. I'm trying to select a way to, and I'm improving myself to my strategies,
Yeah, that's
my
good.
teaching strategies to
Which means
face
that
these
you
problems, to face
think you think that there is a gap and you're trying to close this gap by working on yourself, right?
this.
Yeah, you're
Exactly.
trying to
Yes,
reach
because
yeah.
we have to be familiar with this technology. So we have to be used to it. Yeah.
Yes, I
And
agree.
as a teacher, yes, as a teacher, just I want. I'm sorry, as a student,
Mm,
sometimes I face a challenge that some teachers, they don't simplify the information.
mm, mm-hmm,
I saw that this information is very simple and it's not very complicated.
mm,
And the teachers, they don't try. They explain the information, but
mm-hmm.
they explain it in a complicated way. It doesn't need all of these
Yeah,
explanation.
they over
It's very
explain.
simple. Yes,
Yes. And
you.
they tell. I mean, I don't know whether you know the difference between showing and telling. So
Yes, yes,
it's not about telling. Telling is,
exactly,
yeah, is sometimes very troubling and very bothersome. It bothers you more than it can help what issues you have.
exactly, exactly,
Mm.
exactly.
So you don't
Yes,
want the teacher to be, what do they call it?
yes,
We have a
to
statement
give
for
the
it.
information in a simple way.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll talk about those issues in a minute. Um, who else do we have? I think we have one more hand. Okay. Yeah, because you're
Yes,
raising your
doctor.
hand. Yes.
Yeah. My problems as a student, I have just three problems. The first problem is that the way of education is really traditional. You know, it's really boring. So because of that, most
Mm.
of the students sleeping during the class.
Hmm.
The
Yes.
second, yeah, and the second problem is that they don't go deeply with the subjects. You know, they don't respect the subject that they teach. They just teach us for the exam to take the
Mm.
exam and pass.
Yes.
For
Hmm.
example, when they teach us the Victorian era in literature, the Victorian era is a really interesting period. You know, it's really
Mm.
you know there are many perfect writers and a
Mm.
lot of beautiful literary works. So they don't go deeply with that. They just teach us the questions that will come during the in the final exam, and just so they don't let us go deeply with these beautiful subjects. And the last
Mm.
problem is that they they make me they make me feel that they have a revenge with the students. You know, they make everything harder for them. Yani, I don't know why.
I didn't get the last point.
Sorry.
Yeah, I didn't get your last point.
My last point is that they make, for example, the exams hard. They're they're they make everything hard. You know, they don't want us to pass.
Yeah, this is a feeling, which is obviously not true. But again, it's the problem of the teacher that he or she does not reassure their learners. So part of the job of the teacher is to reassure you that he's not against you. He or she is not trying to intimidate you. Yeah, this would fall under the relationship that a teacher has with his learners. And this is an area that we're going to talk about. Thank you so much. Let's move on and see the issues. Yeah, great. Those are some of the issues. What you said is actually very realistic. And we also have other issues. Let's look at them. So these are some of the issues that the ELT world is grappling with. So somebody talk about or spoke about teacher talk time, the fact that the teacher does not talk too much under explaining, and it's a problem whether you are over explaining or under explaining. So if you're which is what we see people do, we have this idea of over explaining, which we call teacher talking time, and it's a real problem in the world of ELT. Teacher talking time. So what do you think? Let's go back to the original idea. Do you think the teacher should talk too much or what?
He had to make
No,
balance.
Depends on the topic.
Yeah.
that's the balance.
Yes. In a language class, we're talking about a language class, not a philosophy or a literature class. Because obviously, in a language class, I am teaching you a skill. Okay, so I cannot teach you to swim by me talking to you about swimming all the time. What should I do? If I'm teaching you how to ride a bike, should I be talking about the bike all the
Give
time,
me
the
a
wheels?
practical lesson.
Yes, I
You're
should.
showing
Yeah,
No,
it.
like
yes,
practicing first.
yeah. You should practice in front of me. Okay, in our case, if we talk about a language class, I should give you activities that allow you to practice the language. So it's not about talking about the language, it's about talking the language or speaking the language, right? So teacher talking time is a problem, and most of us as teacher have this high TTT. We call it TTT, and our TTT as teachers is very high. Okay, there are whole courses on this TTT kind of thing. So what do people do in those courses? They try to reduce their TTT because it's not good to be talking all the time. Okay, so this is a problem that we're having. What other issues did we talk about? There is also a very important issue. I mean, the issue of whether to use the first language in class or not. What is the first language? Okay, I speak Arabic. My mother tongue is Arabic. So I teach English through Arabic. So what do you think of this? Is this a good approach?
It could be good
No,
sometimes,
Yeah,
especially for the beginner.
yeah. Now
maybe not in the long run.
Let's put the
To say that it is absolutely wrong is wrong, and to say that it is absolutely right is wrong, right? So
Yes.
when do you think? So we're talking about using our native language or using the first language in class. And I think I wrote an article on that, and I said using the first language is not a sin against the Holy Spirit. I was, of course, using a metaphor here. So most of us agree that we can use the first language in class, but when? And with what stages and grades and forms, right? So it's not absolute. It's not that you walk into class and give khutbah Jum'ah and the class is English, obviously, right? Well,
Yes, absolutely.
yes.
Yes, absolutely.
yes,
Um,
please.
okay, so let me ask you, when, from your experience as learners, when do you think I can use the native language, my mother tongue, Arabic? I'm teaching English, and the class is full of Arabic speaking students. So I use Arabic. We said I can, but when?
Yes,
I
doctor, can
think
I
it's.
answer?
Yes,
Go ahead.
yes.
Yes. I prefer, in my point of view, I prefer to not speak in my mother tongue. As a teacher or as a student, I prefer to not using the native language. But in case when I tried to, for example, as a teacher, when I tried to simplify the idea, I tried many ways. I simplified as in many ways, and the students still don't understand. So here I can use some words, just words. I don't want to use sentence, just words to just help my student to catch the idea. This is my point of view. I don't know if it's right or wrong.
Yeah, that's a strategy. I mean,
Yeah,
that's one of the things that people do.
Yes, it's kind of strategies. Yes.
Let's go to Razan. What do you have to say about this? Because you're raising your hand.
Yes, I agree with her because using the language we teach is very important because it will help students to become more familiar with the language. But sometimes we need to use the native language, maybe to explain some important or deep details. To give a realistic example, when I was in my training period before graduation, when I had my training with Miss Aris, they wanted me to explain the grammar class, and when I tried to speak only English, I tried to explain the concept of the common noun and the proper noun. When I used only the English explanation, some of them find it difficult. So I had to tell them the proper noun is just like asma al-alam in Arabic. I spoke exactly like this to make everything clear.
Yeah.
So the key is not to eliminate our native language. The key is to use it positively.
Yes, and to use it very selectively, and you need to be very smart about when to use it and when not to use it. It's obviously about people exaggerating the use of the native language, and I'm turning the class into a native language class when it is not. This is the issue that we're having. Let's move to Bara. She has something to share with us.
Yes, for sure. I agree. Sometimes we have to use our mother tongue, which is Arabic language, especially when the current student experience is different from the previous experience. How? For example, I was a teacher in international school, and I met some students. They were in government school, then they changed their schools to an international, which is way different because it was a requirement for me just to use English. Arabic was not allowed at all. So some of them, they cannot understand English and use it in any way and in any form. So I just decided to give the lesson, and one of the lessons was about suffix and prefix, which is grammar. I decided just to give them the lesson, and then just give them 10 to 5 minutes to understand in Arabic. I just يعني اضطريت, was
Yeah.
under the
So,
pressure just to let them understand my
yeah,
point.
there is a technique that we call scaffolding. Scaffolding is
Nice.
nice. I mean, you try to, I mean, you're using Arabic because this is going to help, but over time, you reduce your Arabic until it is no more.
Yes,
Okay?
exactly. That's why I just put a limit, which is a time, 10 to
Mm-hmm.
5 minutes, just to understand.
Nice. Very good. Thank you, Bara. Budur.
Yes, doctor. I would say using Arabic, of course, with
The native language,
time.
because
Yeah,
it
the
can
native,
be, yeah, it can be
of
something
course,
else. If your
of
native
course,
language is Urdu, for example, or
of course, yes.
yes, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to say that, for example, the early year education students, of course, they came to the school with only learning their native language. Some would actually learn, their parents would actually give them some, uh, they will start with them to learn the language, but of course, they wouldn't comprehend a whole class with only English language. So of course the teacher would have to explain in English and in Arabic. And along the way, along the school year, they would have a better grasp of the English language. And as you said, the teacher would reduce the use of the the native language, so the student can actually have a better grasp of the English language.
Nice. Thank you, Budur. Noor? Noor Dogan,
Yeah,
you're raising your
yes,
hand.
doctor. Yes,
Yes.
doctor. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Well, as a kindergarten teacher, I used to teach them in English. I was an English teacher, so of course I had to teach them in English. But because they don't even understand a single word in English, I had to say every single word, every single sentence, I had to say it in both languages, Arabic and English. And sometimes they can't even understand my accent, so I just say it in their accent, in like the Arabic accent.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to teach them by using the both languages.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm. Yeah.
In my opinion, I actually agree with using Arabic language or native language during teaching. In my opinion, I think that I should explain everything in English, then summarize it to not just the native language, but the native dialect also. Or
No,
maybe I
that
could.
that would be, you know something? I mean, if you do it both ways, you start with English and then you end up with Arabic. So obviously this is going to be a burden over the head of the student. And it can be very alienating for those who speak the language. So you have students who understand English, obviously, and you have those desperate students who need some native language. So the idea of starting off in English and then in the second language and then you move, that's too much. I mean, you have a plan that you have to go by. You have a time limit that you have to honor and respect. You have so many things to think about. So I think the idea of yeah, there is obviously, and this is what we established, that there is nothing wrong with using the native language, but again, you need to know when and how and what. Um, again, you also would use the native language to reassure the students. Sometimes you have students who are xenophobic. Xenophobic means that they hate foreigners and they hate what comes from them and the language comes from them. So they need reassurance that it's a lovely language. So you need to do your homework. You need to prepare very well. You need to be to make things that make the language appeal to them. If from the very first day, for example, you're teaching an ESL class, for example, and you teach them how to introduce themselves in English, they will be over the moon about it. And then they are going to start to, every time you walk into class, to acquire more language that they can use. So it's about your way, it's about how you try to win their hearts and minds. Okay, so again, we're saying that using the native language again is not a sin against the Holy Spirit, provided that you know when and how to do it. Like I said, there is a whole um area of research on just that, and I myself is contributing to that. I'll refer you to one of the articles that I wrote about this. Okay, let's move on because obviously this is not the only issue that we have. So what did we say? We said that teacher talking time, especially when we have high TTT, this is an issue that people talk about. The idea of using the first language or the native language is another challenge, and there is a debate on and about it. Also, nowadays you have teaching online. You have people who love the idea of teaching online as learners, and you have people who hate it. So many times you have students coming to me, for example, and say, well, I don't like being taught online. Can I change to a face-to-face class? You correspondingly, you would have a student who comes to you and say, listen, I hate face-to-face class. Can't I come and you teach me online with the other group? So what do you think are some you because you are also online learners and you have spent so much time receiving part of your education online. Tell me about the challenges. Let's talk about the benefits of online learning and also the drawbacks, the things that you don't like about it. Um, Very quickly. Yeah, Mia, go ahead.
At the beginning, I don't like teaching online actually because I don't think that I feel comfortable with it because I I feel that I don't respect that I have a class right now, so I can eat during taking the class. I can sleep during the class, and also I can
You as a
the
what? As a teacher or as a learner?
as a
Mm-hmm.
student, I don't feel that the students during the online class yani respect the class. They can do a lot of things during taking the class. Okay,
Well,
and
it depends.
we
Obviously, it depends on the teacher, right?
no, I don't. We are at home, so there are many
No, well,
many.
if you have a stake in what is happening, if you think it's very important, the class is interesting, the teacher uses a variety of techniques and approaches, I think you're not going to do any of that.
No,
Mm.
I think that we should have a, a nature for studying, a place for studying, and a place for rest or for taking a rest or to relax. So I think that the home or my room is the place that, to take a rest. It's not a place for taking a class or for
Go
working.
go
You
go
know,
to the living room. Go to the living room. Go to the balcony,
no,
the
no, no.
terrace.
I don't think that I think that my home is the place for taking a rest, to stay with my family and something like that. But
Go to the
when
roof. Go to the roof.
I don't think it gave me the
You
same
don't.
effect. Yeah, like the for example at the university, so we are in an educated place, something like that. And also, we can discuss with each other and seeing our body language, something like that.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay, so these are some of the drawbacks. Let's listen to somebody else and see how it goes with her or him. Fatma Bilal.
The online learning was convenient for me because I didn't have to worry about, okay, where am I going to put my son at these different classes. So
Hmm.
that was but at the same time there is a drawback. Okay, you can have technical issues,
Hmm.
and as someone just mentioned right now, when you're in the class face to face, if you're having debates or discussions, it's nice to actually have it face to face instead of waiting your turn
Hmm.
and so on. So it's both ways. It's good and it has its advantages and
By the way, we have this facility in Teams and also in Zoom, and it's called breakout rooms. And this is what we intend to do over perhaps next time or the perhaps that will solve the problem. The idea that we can have like 3 or 4 people in each room, and you guys can discuss whatever to your heart's content. How about that, Fatma? Would that solve the problem?
it would somewhat solve the problem, but it's still different when you're actually having a face to face in the room in a circle discussing
I
something
mean, open
together.
your cam. Open your cam. You're going to be girls together. Open your cams. So
Yeah,
it's
that is a
okay. Okay, Fatma. Thank you. Let's go to Al Gawhara.
I think one of the advantages is like to have more time with the teacher because most teachers like work hard when it becomes an online teaching to answer students' questions, whether to give more time in the class or in emails. This is what I think. And when it comes to the disadvantages, maybe there's less engaging among students themselves. Like we don't see each other, we don't cooperate with each other. That's it.
Yes, I mean, again, the reason why we're not doing it because, and I'm trying to show you one way of doing it, which is obviously the way that you don't like, and the drawback, the idea that it's what we call um, what teaching or teacher-fronted teaching, where you have the teacher in front of the class, and obviously he does everything. There is no room
Yes,
for pair and group work. Students do not practice the language together, and there
yes,
is the teacher is um, the center of attention, which shouldn't be happening.
yes,
So, yeah, this is one of the things that we also have a solution for with online classes. Like I said, you have this idea of breakout rooms where you have, depending on the number, you have people like three or four put together, and then they can talk. And then the teacher can go around the rooms and can observe them and monitor their activities and see whether they are working on the activity or not. He or she can provide support and help. So it happens. So we don't want to judge the whole online experience based on our classes, because our classes also were literature classes where there is this idea of, we're talking about topics and issues, and if people go together in breakout rooms, they're not likely to talk much. And this is I tried in many of my classes. You can have a student who is very active and very enthusiastic, while three other students are not. So you put them together in a room, and then you go and come, and you see that one of them is doing all the talking while the rest are not interested. See? Yeah, so the idea of online classes has its own supporters and fans, and it also has its detractors and critics. We'll talk more about that, inshallah. Let's move on. So this is one of the issues. So we spoke about using the first language or the native language. We spoke about teacher talking time, and we said it shouldn't be high. We also speak about teaching online. And as language teachers, we have also the problem of how to teach grammar. So, how do people teach grammar from your experience? You've been on the receiving end of grammar lessons for so much. I'll give you the two scenarios and tell me which one applied or applies to you. One way would be that if the teacher is giving a new grammatical rule, he or she goes and write the theory, um, and explain the rule, and then um, with examples, and then he asks you to solve or do exercises on it. So the point here is that the teacher starts with the theory. He explains the rules and then asks you later to do exercise. The other way would be that he gives you examples and exercises, and he asks you to observe the examples and exercises and perhaps look at the differences between things, and then later come up with your own exercises. I'm sorry, with your own language and your own examples. So which way were you taught grammar? Mm,
Can
Maya.
I answer?
Yeah.
I'm actually with the next way.
No, and it's not,
Because
we're not talking about preferences. We're talking about how you were taught grammar.
actually, I prefer that if I
Not,
give him
we're not talking about preference. We're talking about your experience. So
And my experience,
as a student, how were you taught grammar?
I saw grammar in a traditional way. For example, the teacher
Which is what are you?
explaining everything. Then
Hmm.
he gives me like exam or homework or something like
Hmm.
that. But I'm not with this way actually.
Okay, so this is what we call the deductive way. It starts with
Yeah,
the teacher, okay, and then much later the student can do exercises and homework and everything. Okay,
yeah.
let's move to somebody else. Budur, how were you taught grammar?
Exactly the first method.
Mm-hmm.
The teacher would actually just um, explain the rule and talks
Mm-hmm.
about it, write it on the board, and then we just say it. We'll say, open your books. We're gonna solve this
Mm-hmm.
exercise and exercise and exercise. And most of the time, these rules would actually have a connection to other rules, and I mean, sometimes it will be difficult to remember
Mm-hmm.
the previous rule, so they won't connect it together
Mm-hmm.
for us to understand it.
Mm-hmm. So obviously, it's this is like I said, this is that traditional way, and we call it the deductive way. So the teacher explains the rules, and then after that, he gives you exercises to do. The other, do we have people who were given grammar inductively? The inductive way would be that you have examples, you try to check them, you try to find relationships between the different sentences. You it's more or less like the guided discovery kind of thing that we spoke about last time. Still remember guided discovery? I don't give you the rule. I give you models and I ask you to check them and perhaps detect the difference. Okay? And then much later I can explain if I think you didn't get it yourself. Okay, so this way I'm not assuming that you were born yesterday, that you're not assuming that you're not a capable human being. You are capable. So you can see the examples on the board. You try to establish those logical relationships and then come up with the rule yourself. So this is what we call the inductive way, which is now more preferred than the deductive way. So as you can see, with this, you're going to reduce TTT or teacher talk time because the teacher is not going to speak right away. He or she walks into class and then he starts either explaining or writing on the board, right? No, this is obviously an issue that lots of people are grappling with. So we're talking about teaching grammar inductively or deductively. Obviously, the deductive way is the traditional way, but the inductive way is the modern way. So the deductive way is what we call teacher-centered. It focuses on the teacher, while the inductive way is what we call learners-centered, where the focus is on the learner. The learner does a lot of things. Okay, what other issues do we have? Um, we also have the idea of teaching English as a content subject or teaching English as um, what as a medium. So you teach English for the sake of English, or perhaps you teach um, subjects like math, science using English. Which of them is you think is better? For you to study the other subjects in English and you acquire and learn the language while doing that, or you have a dedicated English lesson like what we do, for example. So let's take our examples at the university in the English department. So do we give you English as a subject, or you learn English through studying literature, poetry, the different courses that you have taken?
Through the
What do
different courses.
So which is good or bad?
I
Do you
think it's
think?
good because
Mm,
sometimes you can't like explain everything. We can't cover, I mean, there's time management and something like that. So, and sometimes it's not good. Because sometimes like when it comes to poetry, we don't really know the rules in English.
mm.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's like I said, that's part of this ongoing debate of whether you teach English as a subject in and of itself, or you make it um, a medium of instruction where you teach, like I said, you teach other subjects using English. Um, okay. And then you have the idea of acquiring the language, and we spoke about that. How do people acquire the language? And who acquires the language? You have two kinds of people. You have people who acquire their first language, of course, when they are babies and when they grow up. And you have people who acquire the language as a second language. So obviously, it's not their native language. And the debate is around the idea of whether the two processes are the same or they are different. It's whether we learn our second language the way we learn our first language or not. So it's a huge debate and it's not conclusive yet. Lots of people are talking about it as we speak. So what other issues do we have? We also have English as a global or an international. It's not an issue, it's not a challenge. But lots of people who believe in the purity of language, I mean, English people, British people, and native speakers, when you talk in front of them about English as a global or international language, they get upset or something. So, what's the idea of English as a global language? The idea with English as a global language is that we focus on the message. We don't focus on the formality of the language. We don't focus on how pure what you're producing or what comes out of your mouth is. It's not about proper pronunciation. It's not about proper grammar. No, you have a message, and you're trying to get it across. If it is gotten across, that's fine. You're doing a good job, and you speak English. Are you getting the point? So
Yeah, Doctor.
in teaching English as a global or an international language, you as a teacher don't have to care, don't have to focus too much on the purity of pronunciation. So in front of you, if people use the pa instead of the ba or the other way around, you don't worry. If people use sa instead of tha, you don't say anything. That's fine. If people use broken grammar, you don't say anything as long as other people understand them. And there is a philosophy behind it. Why are people doing this? Why English as a global and international language is gaining currency every day and is getting popular and trendy? It's simply because if you look at the distribution of English as a second language, you're going to find that most of the speakers of the language of English, for example, are non-native speakers. So the two of them, so you have somebody from Egypt and somebody from India, no native speaker between them. So what they focus on is not obviously the purity of the language of, or how beautiful the expressions are and how correct they are. They focus on the message. The two of them are two business people. Do you think that they will care about how beautiful their English is or are? No, right? So people, you have a Chinese and you have an Indian, and they both speak English. So English is their lingua franca, right? Do you think they have to care about how well they can produce the words and pronounce them, and how intact and perfect the grammar is? What do you think?
Actually,
No,
sometimes, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, actually,
and
sometimes, yes.
I'm saying that this is uh, a school in the world where they say that if there is no native speaker involved, so who cares what kind of pronunciation? The focus here, like I'm saying, is on good communication. Good communication means that I am buying something from you. Okay, if you understand me and you're going to send me what I'm buying from you, that's fine. This is what I want from English, nothing else.
Yeah,
Are you? We're not saying that this is good or bad. We're saying that this is happening as we speak. We have a school of learning and teaching English that focuses on that. And this is what they have a name for it. They call it the phonological core. I would like you to go and check this concept, phonological core, where people don't care anymore whether you're going to use S with the third person singular or not. If you say every day he play football, instead of saying every day he plays. So, so if I say he play, would you understand or not? You understand. That's fine. This is global English. See,
sorry, doctor, but my opinion is that
it's not
my
about
opinion
your
is that
opinion. Yeah, we're not saying
no,
this
it's
is
not.
good. We're not judging. We're not judging. We're saying that this phenomenon is there now. Okay,
Yeah,
we're not saying Mia, come and teach English as a global language. Are you getting my point?
yeah, doctor, but I want to say that sometimes, for example, when some Indian people pronounce talk in English, or some Russian people, when some Russian people talk in English, and in their pronunciation, I can't understand them. So
You will,
but when
you
they
will,
use the
you will, you
yeah,
will. Because obviously it's not English, it's not only the language that they are using. They are using their facial expressions, their body language. So it's all these things that can help. Are you getting my point?
yeah,
So again, the focus is on the message, and English would be part of helping to get the message across. And obviously, English wouldn't be the only way. Like I said, body language, facial expressions, the movement of the eyes, and all, smiling, frowning, lots of things. Okay. So interesting ideas as I can. So these are some of the issues that people in the TEFL and the ELT are grappling with. Let me read them again and out loud. We have English as a global or international language. We have teacher talking time. We have teaching English as a content subject or as a subject simply. You have teaching grammar, whether to teach it inductively or deductively. We have teaching online. We have also the idea of the textbook or the course book. This is also a huge debate because no textbook is obviously perfect. So some people are for the idea of adapting and designing your own material. You as a teacher, part of your responsibility would be that you get inspired by the objectives and the aims of the lesson and you develop your own material. And then comes the idea of whether you will have time to do that or not. That's why textbooks are a magical or a magic solution for that. You have a book that provides you with all the activities, the exercises, and all you need to do is to plan and then you go and implement. So you have people who like it, and you also have people who say that no textbook or no course book is perfect. You need to develop your own material and everything. We'll talk about that later. What else do we have? Sorry. You have the language acquisition debate. Again, the idea of whether we learn our second language the way we learn our first language. And then, of course, using L1. L1 means language one, your native language in class, whether this is acceptable or not. Now this is interesting, and this is perhaps a kind of diversion. I would like you to think of this. Think of this statement and tell me whether. Think about it. I'll give you perhaps a couple of minutes to think about it. So don't make your students glad twice. Glad means happy, of course, within the same class. I'm telling you not to do that, and obviously, think about it. Think about it, and we'll talk. I'll give you a couple of minutes. Of course, you're going to say why. Think of why you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't make your students glad twice. Okay. Any interesting thoughts as
Can I
why we
say
shouldn't
something?
see hands? Budur?
I thought of maybe not, uh, maybe making your students think ahead of themselves.
Whatever that means.
Um, maybe like what I imagine is praising your students, or like you're good, or like about maybe their, I don't know, maybe their
Let's talk about
pronunciation.
let's talk about when are they glad? So they are glad twice within the same class. When do you think those two occasions are?
As I said, what I imagine is when the teacher praised them for
Mhm.
maybe like a good answer, or like the way they pronounce the words, or this is
The question is, why don't I make them glad all the time, for example? And what can make them glad in the first place? And what is dangerous about making them glad all the time?
Maybe
Let's
they don't take education seriously.
Mhm. And that wouldn't make them that would make
Like
them
work
happy.
hard. They wouldn't work hard much more.
yes, exactly. Yes.
Okay. Any other thoughts and ideas? Bara?
To be honest, I would like to challenge them continuously, and avoid overpricing or over rewarding, because sometimes like this could mean that if you reward or prize student excessively for the same achievement or behavior, it cannot be genuine anymore. Let's keep it as a
Okay.
surprise or
So
once in a
it's
time.
one way would be to make them happy by tapping into their potential, by trying to engage them, by trying to what to grab their attention, right? Uh, so every time you walk into class, because they love that in you, they are going to be glad. So this is once. So once you walk into class, so this is the first time. And then the second time is when? Hala, go ahead.
Yes, hello.
Yeah, hi, how are you?
I'm good. I
Mm.
think they would underestimate the teacher and not be fearful of what they would think that the teacher can do to them or punish them.
Obviously, you're misreading the statement. We're trying to say that there is something that the teacher, or there are two things or two occasions in which the students are glad when the teacher does something. So I helped you by saying that if you're making a difference in their lives, if they are happy about your performance, so when you come to the class, they are glad. Okay? But
Okay.
if you're overdoing something, you're over explaining, you're burdening them with exercises that do not make sense, they are going to also be glad seeing you go out of the class. They are so desperate, they want the time to fly so that you go out of the class. That makes them happy if you leave. Are you getting this kind of
Yeah.
contrast or
Yeah, I
gap?
do.
So you come to the class and they are so happy because sometimes you do very nice stuff. But when you go back to your old self and give them traditional teaching and things that are boring and you speak too much, they they want to get rid of you. And once they see you out of the class, they are so happy, right?
Yes.
Or
So it's
sometimes when they
Can I
know
share
that the teacher is absent.
yes, because yeah, um, again, I'm
can I
stressing the
share
fact that sometimes you you're very energetic when you first come and they see how energetic and how nice and also the way you teach in an indirect way. You use guided discovery, you don't impose things on them. They are so happy. And then you start to go to your old self and give them meaningless and silly exercise. You speak too much. Yeah, when is he going to leave? Right? And once you leave, because the period is over, I mean, the students are so happy. So don't make your students glad twice within the same class. Why not? And what's wrong with that? Um, Glad to see you come. Were agreed on that because you are a wonderful teacher the very first 10 or 15 minutes. And they are going to also be glad to see you go because after or perhaps after, I mean, 20 minutes later, you are going to burden them with stuff that does not make sense. You're not going to divide them into groups. You're going to monopolize the talk and talk all the time. They're going to still to feel bored. They're going to start to yawn, and they're going to start to perhaps fight with their other colleagues, right? So once the class is over, they are so glad that you left. So this is or the reason why is that you shouldn't be overstaying your welcome. This is a very nice expression. Don't overstay your welcome, which means that you need to know the limit. You need to calculate things. Um, Sometimes you're nice and everything, and you're doing the right job, but sometimes you overdo it. Like having a meal, you're cooking something, and you instead of putting the right amount of salt, you overdo it. So the meal looks amazing, very delicious. You eat it with your eyes, but once you start to taste it, so this is every one of us. Okay, the meal can be very nice looking, but we're overdoing it. Right? Are you getting the point?
Yeah, doctor.
Yes, clear.
Yes.
Okay, let's move on.
It's very clear, Doctor.
Okay, from what we said so far, we realize that we have needs and gaps as teachers. And our teachers, if we're not teachers ourselves yet, our teachers had needs, had gaps. Gaps means they have issues and problems. And we spoke about those problems, right? So, as a teacher, you need to know yourself or know thyself, like Socrates used to say. So this is your starting point. If you want to be a good teacher, you need to know yourself. And what do I mean by knowing yourself? It means that you yourself should identify your issues and problems. Okay? You say, I'm not a teacher yet, but you have seen teachers in action, and you need to think of how you should avoid what you don't like about them. ولا And if you're a teacher
Yeah,
already,
sure.
you think that you have like Basma. I liked what Basma is saying. She's very frank and very honest about what she's doing. She says, or she said that she had some gaps and she's working. Do we still have Basma?
Yes, doctor. Yes, I'm
Yes.
with you.
Yes. See, this is the first step towards being a great teacher is that you don't shy away from your issues and problems. No, you need to face them up.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, these are the areas. Um, I'll make it big in a minute. These are areas that, as teachers, uh, in other words, this is what teaching is all about. Teaching is about giving information. Is obviously we're not teaching. We're not talking about teacher in the abstract. We're talking about teaching a language and teaching English. So giving information is an aspect of your teaching profession. Your language, the language you use, is also part and an aspect. Classroom management is a very important aspect, and also the relationship with the learners. These are the four areas that people take training for. And when we expand on them, this is going to cover the whole ELT experience. So, giving information, your own language, classroom management, and the relationship with the learners. Um, so these are the areas. I would like you, I'll ask you questions. We have four categories, as you can see, A, B, C, D. And I would like you to read the activities and the questions under them, under the different categories, and tell me or give a label to each one of them. So, for example, you read A and the questions, and you tell me, for example, that this is classroom management. You read C and tell me this is a relationship with learners. You read D and you say this is this has to do with language. Are you getting my point?
Yeah,
So you're
doctor.
going to match 1, 2, 3, 4 with B, A, C, D. Yalla, I'll give you a couple of minutes. Read them, and we talk about them after you have finished. Yalla. Matching. Okay. So what do you think? Wait,
Doctor,
wait. I can see hands. Okay. Yeah, yes, yeah. Did I don't think I forgot your name. Bushra. Are you trying to answer or
yes,
what?
yes. One with she, right?
One
Giving
with what?
information.
Yeah, see. So giving information. So do you always give the right amount, the right information about language? Do you always give the right information about skills? Do you listen closely to what your learners produce and correct when necessary? Are you confident that you have analyzed what you teach? So that goes, this is giving information. Okay, what else? Let's move to somebody else. I can see only hands, but not people. Where is the people here? Okay, Dina, because you're raising her hand.
Hello, doctor.
Yeah, hi, how are you?
I'm good. Can you just move the screen a little bit?
Yes.
Yes. So I think A goes with the relationship with the learners.
Do you treat people equally? Are you approachable yet an authority? Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Dina. Do do you what? Do you tend to favor the outgoing and contributive more than the shy and silent? Do you know all your learners' names? Yeah, very interesting. Let's move to somebody else. Who's that? Basma?
Yes, doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think B Are you always understood first time? Do you use pidgin English? Do you mumble and mutter? Is it clear from your voice tone what you intend? Is it it's going with your own language?
Yeah, your
Number
language.
2.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. Yes. I think we have one left. Let's have, who's that? Let's have somebody that we haven't heard before. Let's move to the second, see if we have any. Okay. So Razan,
D goes with classroom management.
okay,
Do you
what
have
does it say? Yes.
do you have to repeat and repair your instructions? Do
Mm-hmm.
you know why you are monitoring activities?
Mm-hmm.
Do you often run out of time? Can
Mm-hmm.
you continuously handle all the technological support available to you?
Yes. So this is
These
classroom
ideas are
management.
related to classroom management.
Absolutely. I agree. Thank you so much. Okay. So which do you think you as a teacher is having, which area of the four do you think you have issues with, you have challenges with? And let's be honest about it. Drop your hand if if it's yeah, Budur. So
I would
it
say
yeah,
yes, okay.
which area? Giving information, language, classroom management, or relationship with the
I would
learners? I'm sorry.
say classroom management and maybe
Mm.
relationship with the learners. I
Ah,
need to
yes.
improve on these areas.
Yeah. So these are areas that you would like to work on. Yeah,
Yes,
nice.
absolutely.
Okay. Dina, how about you?
Um, for me, I think it's classroom management and my own
Mm.
language. I know my accent is kind of good, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when someone asks me a sudden question without me
Mm.
being prepared,
Uh-huh.
my accent goes away, plus my grammar, plus everything, and I start mumbling, and it's a crazy thing.
Yes. Yes, it happens. Especially you may be speaking very excellent English like you do now, but the problem is that when you are in a class and people ask you grammar questions that you're not prepared for, you speak the language, but you don't think about the language, right? And this happens with so many people, with native speakers. I mean, of course, they speak the language, but when
Yeah,
you
and
ask
I
them,
have another problem.
yes,
I'm a bilingual, or no, I'm a multilingual actually, and sometimes just all the languages like
they,
combined
they
together. Yeah,
may I know what these languages are?
Arabic, English, Bulgarian, Italian, and Russian.
MashaAllah. Okay, I'm not going to tell you. This is perhaps the subject of another day. How did you acquire all these languages? We'll talk about it. Yeah, it can be confusing sometimes. I don't know the feeling because I'm not, I'm only bilingual. Yeah. So I only speak English and Arabic. So, yeah, which means that it's not about working on the language as much as it is about perhaps reading more about the theory of language. You know your grammar very well as a speaker, but not as a teacher, right? So if you're a teacher, you need to prepare. People may ask you about the tenses, the passive. You use them very well. But when it comes to explaining them, it becomes a problem, right? Okay, let's have Maya or Mia.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I'm sorry. Actually, my problem is the relationship with the learners because maybe I don't have this confidence to to stay in front of people and start to explain. And I don't think that I always have this feelings that they will not like me or like my way or something like that.
Yes. So you need to work on that. You need to think of ways as how you can reach out to your students, ways as how you can win their hearts and minds, right? Yes. Okay. Thank you. Let's have Toka.
Yes. I think classroom management and
Mm.
relationship with the learners,
Mm-hmm.
because I treat the kids very good, so they think they are also my friend. So I think they will not understand, and they will think that the class is a play, just
Mm.
fun.
Yeah, it can be fun, but up to a limit, right?
Yes.
Too fun is a problem, right? Too
Yes.
much fun, I mean, too much fun is obviously okay. Nice. Let's have Fatma.
For me, it would be classroom management.
Hmm. You have issues with that. So, what aspect of classroom management? Because classroom management is about giving information, is about making sure that the instructions that you give, for example, are clear. Is about monitoring, giving feedback. Which area of classroom management are you struggling with?
Okay, so for my first graders, because that's I teach first grade, and it's
Mm.
boys, it can get quite rowdy, and then to get them back in,
Mhm.
that's where I lose them. So and their number is quite high, so that's what I'm struggling with now. I used to
Mhm.
struggle with, I should say.
Okay, thank you. We have time for one more, Basma.
Yes, teacher. Actually, I'm very good with relationship with learners.
Mm.
I can memorize all the names of learners. I can deal with the shy and activate. I can deal with this. But
Mm.
as I said before,
Mm.
classroom management, how to
Mm.
engage the students into the class, and also giving information, because
Mm.
sometimes even if I prepare very nice, even if I prepare what the information I should say, sometimes the kids may surprise you in a question, and or for example maybe you face a word that you don't understand, that is new
Yes.
for you.
Mhm.
I believe that every person, even the native speaker, they don't know all the words in English.
Absolutely not. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
That's
So
why
maybe you face it.
that's where preparation comes in, right? You need to
Yes, that.
prepare very well.
Yes,
Uh,
but I'm usually be afraid that I may have this word, I may have this. That's why I prepare very, uh, very carefully when while I prepare.
yes.
Yeah, usually I always feel scared that I may have this. I may have this attitude.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it's about gaining confidence, and it's about having, again, when we talk about having a plan and a
Yeah.
well-prepared plan, that can play the trick. Um, and we normally have a sheet where
Mm,
I mean, and we have, I mean, the title or the heading would be anticipated problems.
mm-hmm.
So this is part of your preparation and of your plan is to anticipate the problems, whether those problems are language, grammar and vocab, or even on the level of the skills. So we have a provision for that. You think of the lesson very well. You think of the vocab items. You prepare for them. You can almost expect, yeah, they can ask me this, so I need to double check on the meaning of this word. They may ask me about this kind of rule. I need to double check that I understand it myself. So this is a
Mm-hmm.
category that we call anticipated problems.
Yeah.
Dina, go ahead. Thank you, Basma.
Okay, doctor, I have a question regarding what she just said and preparing the lectures before the lecture. Are we gonna have in the future like a lecture how to do we prepare for this?
How you mean lesson planning, you mean?
Yes.
Yes, I mean this is part of if you check our calendar, I have it shared. I mean, are you part of the group that we have, the WhatsApp group, Yadina?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so I sent you last time I sent you slides, and I think that was like page 2 or 2. You have the calendar, and as of perhaps next time, next week, we will talk about planning. Is it planning? Can somebody check the calendar for us and see what we have next week?
I think next week we'll have classroom management and techniques and practices.
And
The
part
second
of
week.
them, part of them, I think. So then it's going to be the week after next week. We'll have lesson planning and adapting material and designing it. So we're not very far away from it, Yadina, I promise you. Okay, so let's move on.
Teacher, can I ask you a question before we moving
Yeah,
on?
yes,
Uh, do
yes, ask.
you think that English language will die one day and become not a popular or a strong language as now? As
Inshallah.
it now?
Yeah,
I think
well,
that Chinese will be.
it's going to be a
Do you think
language among others. I mean, it depends on the English language is now controlling because it's the language of technology and science. Once we have another nation dominating the world and its language yeah, I mean, its language is the language of technology and science, it's going to be the dominating language, and English will be relegated to second or perhaps third place. You need to remember that in the Middle Ages, the Arabic language was the language of science and technology, and it was taught all over the world. It was the lingua franca of huge parts of the world. Um, what other languages? I don't remember. I only know about
the C
Arabic and English. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I mean, they say, for example, Chinese is very difficult, but who knows? I mean, China is now a dominant power. It's a superpower economically and politically, and perhaps one day their language will supersede any other language. But I don't think in our lifetime. Rest reassured. English is staying for some time. Okay, so let's move on. So these are the things that we read together, and I would like you, when I send you the slides, I would like you to take some time reading them because they mean a lot. This is what the whole English teaching is all about. If you think of these questions and you work on them, you'll be a perfect teacher, obviously, avoiding the issues and the problems. I think it's very strange that we ended the class just on time with the slides ending too. So I think we have space for a couple of questions if you guys have any before we call it a night. Any questions? Basma, you seem to have been raising your hand for the past half a century. Would you like to ask a question or something? Okay. طيب, Razan?
teacher,
Yes,
Razan? Yes, you're raising
yes,
your hand.
yes. I would like to ask about a problem,
Hmm.
language-related problem.
Yeah, go ahead.
When uh, I'm speaking about myself or
Mm.
someone who is يلا, who is trying to learn, because I am bilingual and I'm learning another two languages.
Hmm.
So, and honestly, that's another three languages. That's why when
At the same time, yeah, Razan.
trying to uh, trying to manage it and this stuff.
Why
That
three languages at the same time؟ هيجروا يعني هيخلصوا ولا ايه يا رضا؟ One language at a time. صح؟
because
And
I don't want
Actually, I have a
to
problem.
keep my
what are these three languages? That's
Japanese,
mm-hmm,
French,
mm-hmm.
and Hindi.
By the way, there is no such thing. That, yeah, there is Hindi, yeah, in Central and North India. Yeah, I know. You're
Yes.
learning Hindi. Why learn Hindi? Yeah, I mean, even Indians speak English, obviously, because they have so many languages in India. Why? Perhaps to watch يعني
No,
Hindi
no, no,
movies, Hindi speaking movies,
no.
or like.
I stopped movies 2 years ago.
Mm,
Alhamdulillah.
mm,
I stopped this stuff. But
mm.
because the similarities between it and between the Arabic grammar make it attractive to me.
Yeah, you could go then for Urdu, because Urdu is very similar to Arabic and it is very similar to Hindi. Are you getting my
To
point?
clarify, learning is not difficult
Mm,
to manage
mm.
as and this stuff. But
I'm
because
talking about different language systems. You're saying
yes,
French, Japanese, and Hindi, right?
yes, uh,
Um,
they are very interesting, and I
mm,
don't have difficulties. But the only problem is because I'm a late diagnosed autistic. In addition to my known conditions as a fibromyalgia patient, I'm also a late diagnosed autistic.
mm,
So when I speak, I mumble
mm.
a lot.
That's fine. I mean, over time, you're going to get rid of this. I mean, look at your English. I'm sure when you started speaking English, you mumbled, but now, mashallah, you're doing an excellent job. This is typical of, new languages. When we acquire new languages, we have this hesitation. You start a sentence and then in the middle you stop and start another one. Yeah, that's natural. Yeah, yeah, you shouldn't worry about that. You're
I
doing an
mumble a lot.
excellent job. No, that's
Sometimes,
fine.
uh, sorry, sometimes they notice that when I want to deliver certain idea,
Mm-hmm.
I also have this graphical memory.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to explain something. The four or five vocabularies come in one time.
Yeah, it's over time you'll manage. I think it also has to do with this idea of having so many on your head and on your brain, the fact that perhaps deep inside the languages are conflicting. I think a child can do that, can learn and acquire more than one language at a time. But for a mature individual, I think I don't know, and I don't want to discourage you. You're doing a good job. But this is how I think. But the idea of mumbling, it happens all the time with if you're a new speaker to a language. You don't have to worry about that. I think we have a multilingual Dina, and obviously she wants to say something. Dina, you're raising your hand. That's why.
Yes, doctor. It's
Yes.
more of a question than it's I
Mm,
want to say something.
mm,
For me, when in high school, when they were teaching us English or in school in general, they used to tell us when we couldn't understand something and we asked for the explanation in Arabic, they didn't do that. They're like, no, because the brain is a powerful thing. And for you to endure this language, you need to understand it, just like to feel it, to understand it, not translate it to another language. So to understand this language, or it will make you mumble and it will make you confused, and you won't learn the language so fast. But now when I tried using this technique teaching someone here in Saudi Arabia, they kind of uh, didn't like the way I'm teaching. So is it like a right way or a wrong way?
Obviously, there is no right or wrong way when it comes to, teaching English or teaching any language for that matter. It depends on the learner. It depends on how much research you did so that you can help your learner, because every learner is unique. But let's agree on the idea that, bowing to the pressures of your learners and speaking their native language all the time is very counterproductive. So you need at one stage to stop using Arabic at all and immerse. This is what you're doing. You're immersing them in the language by speaking
Yes.
English all the time.
Yes.
Again, it's about how you're doing that. Obviously, if you're selective in the way you use words,
Yes,
you're not
I
using big vocab items or big idioms, because that can be very intimidating and very scary, Adina, right?
yeah, even I told them if you don't understand the
Mm,
word, go to Google or like any other translation app
mm, mm,
and try for looking the translation or the definition of this word in English, not in Arabic. But
mm.
like many people told me like this way is not effective way, but this is the way I was taught up and I think it's working good. I don't
I'll
know.
tell you something. It depends on their motivations, why they are learning the language. Are they school kids?
Yes.
Or yes, so obviously they have you guys have agendas. You're trying to cover territory with them. Today you're teaching them the past, tomorrow you're teaching them this and that. So you're teaching them to go to the test and do the test, and that would be it, right? Or
Yes.
obviously you're not teaching them to speak the language.
For me, it's more like I want them to know the language because I
But
know English is the future now.
it depends on their motives and motivations and the motivations of their family. If it's you know geared towards the test, then I mean their mindset is test. They are focused on the test. So you need to perhaps come down to earth, if you like, and teach them so that they can do good, or they can do better in the test. But if you're doing this with an ESL student or learner, somebody who is perhaps an adult and he wants to learn English to travel, to immigrate, to have a better job, in this case, they are going to be very motivated first of all, and they are going to like your way. If you even speak Arabic to them, they wouldn't like it because they want to make the effort of understanding you. So it depends on the level, it depends on the motivation of your learners. It's not that you're not doing a good job. It's uh, it's simply that you have a gap. You're looking for something and they are looking for something else. Are you
Okay.
getting my point?
Yes. Thank you, doctor.
You are. طيب, I think we're done. I'm going to stop on this note. Somebody was asking about a rabbit. I don't know what kind of rabbit she wants.
Doctor,
Yes.
doctor, doctor. I'm learning inside the English, Spanish, Syriac, sign language, Braille, and Morse code. So, do you think that I'm wasting my time or something like that?
Yeah, you are.
Why?
One language at a time. You have your 50 years ahead and in front of view. Why would you complicate things? You're talking about different language systems.
Because I
Finish
have a
one
question.
language, or
Yeah.
perhaps be halfway through and then start another language. But I mean, that's I cannot think of it. Having more than language, you're not children. Children can do that, like I said, but adults, I think it's a physical impossibility. You're wasting your time, and then after perhaps 2 years or 3 years, you find yourself having a bit from here and a bit from there, but you haven't perfected any of them. Are you getting my
Doctor,
point?
they are not related with each other. So I'm
Well,
learning inside I'm learning braille and sign language inside the Spanish. So they they are not related with each other.
حتى we call
Uh,
them languages, right? We call them languages. And this is how your mind and your brain identifies them. It identifies them as language. Okay, so my advice would be that you take it in steps and strides, like they say. Finish a language, and mashallah, you guys are all young, and then move on to the second, to a third, and that's it. I'm not interfering with your choices, obviously. I'm just giving you a parental kind of advice. Somebody's asking about our WhatsApp group Rabbit. If you can, if somebody has the Rabbit, can you guys give it to her? What's your name? Do we have the? Can somebody give her the link in the WhatsApp in the chat? Right.
teacher,
Yeah.
can I send something in a Syriac language to you just to take your opinion about the language?
يعني بس انت حدك الائتماني من الأسئلة خلص. فاهم؟ You've been asking so many questions. But let me stop the recording because obviously يعني we finished, and then listen to you in Syriac.